Welcome to Nacho Cinema. Today we are reviewing Final Destination Bloodlines. Or, I don't know, for some reason, as we're calling it, the final destination, even though I don't know that there's any indication that this is the final one that they're doing, unless you know something. Ever.
I don't know anything. I think they're gonna make more. It's as you can see it as I think probably by far the highest Rotten Tomatoes score, the tomato meter with a
I would guess.
92%, and 88 from the audience. It's not often a Final Destination movie is more loved by the critics than the audience.
That's true. That is a fair point. Yeah, I guess I don't even know what the other ones are or like what they're rated at all. I don't have any clue. But yeah, that is kind of surprising. I hadn't thought about that the critics were higher because yeah, usually horror movies,
Yeah.
Final Destination especially, is probably something that they would think is just kind of a popcorn flick, and that is maybe what it is. Maybe
Yeah.
still is that, but. Yeah, we will try to be spoiler free in this, but there may be spoilers potentially. So if you want no spoilers at all, you can save this video for later. But we will give our scores right off the bat, something we
Yes.
do a little bit differently than other channels. So if you wanted to know what we think of the movie overall, I will be giving this one either a 9 or a 9.5 out of 10. I really, really enjoyed this movie.
Mm.
Maybe you could tell that I really liked it. I really liked this one.
Yeah, I will give this also at least a 9 out of 10. This one, I think it's right up there. It could definitely be my favorite of the franchise.
Yeah, I it's been a while since I've watched all of them, so I would have to definitely go back and watch them, but I don't know. Maybe it's just recency bias, but it feels like it would be my favorite.
Yeah,
But yeah, maybe if I went back and watched, I'd be like, maybe I like this one a little better.
yeah. I'm thinking
But
this one or the fifth one, so it's on a hot streak right now. And I
why
did,
why and now?
yes, and I didn't know for sure when anything has a horror franchise has a tagline like Bloodlines. This late into the franchise, like, oh no, what, are we jumping the shark here? But the premise in this one has to do with kind of a bloodline and how death interacts with. I think it's pretty clear from trailers a family that is not necessarily supposed to be alive and exist.
Yes.
That's the premise of this one, and that I think brings us into some of the good things. I think that idea and the new ideas that they introduced in this one were pretty cool and pretty fresh. It's kind of obviously it's going to play pretty similarly to a Final Destination movie, but just those little bits of flavor with the differences and how things work in this one, I think raise it up a level.
Yeah. I agree because I think maybe one of the complaints with other movies is what exactly are the rules here? How are we following like death's order, so to say? And I think in this one it was very clearly set up. It made sense. It wasn't like, oh, they're remembering their if you've what I'm guessing maybe you've watched the other ones. If you're watching this review, you've maybe watched the other ones. Usually they'll have a premonition and then have to remember like, oh, they died in this specific order, or well, actually, it's coming in reverse order this time. Some of those things got a little convoluted sometimes, I felt like, and I feel like in this one, it does a great job at showing, like, yep, it is this order, makes it very clean.
Yeah, it's
I like
not
that part
relying
of it.
on some weird premonition and like why are we getting these and that kind of thing. It's a little easier to uh, understand here.
Hmm.
But yeah, some other, I think a big part of this one being a family. Another huge positive here is the characters, and I think this is the most likable batch of characters by far. Usually there's a few characters that are just so hateable in all these other Final Destination movies, which you just want to go and then you don't have to worry about it. You can just enjoy them being killed. But this one, you actually care for the characters. It's a family, so they all love each other. They may have their differences and their fights, but it's just something a lot funner to dig into and care about versus some of these others with just nothing characters.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree, and um, yeah, there's even some that if you were in one of the other movies, I felt like oh, this guy, this person's gonna probably not be, gonna ruin things for other people, gonna do something dumb, and it didn't really end up happening. It sort of got there sometimes, but overall, I was like, yeah, I liked that they felt like they were trying to make smart decisions and
Yes.
were actually caring for the other people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that really makes this one work with kind of that new idea and character mix of a family. It's people that you do actually care about versus a lot of these other ones. The level of caring for everyone might not be there as much
Yeah.
as it
Yeah.
might be people you don't even know in some
Yeah.
cases.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you get to once you start killing off those characters. I thought a lot of the kills were pretty solid in this one.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've watched all the other ones. It felt like all of the most of the things were pretty unique to this one. Still felt fresh, even though we're the so many movies in. Usually something like that. It's like, oh, can they keep coming up with kind of some of these unique, kind of a little bit of suspense filled kind of
Yeah.
death scenes? And I feel like it still got there for I think pretty much every one of the kills for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there was maybe like one or maybe two that I feel like were definitely lesser in this
Yeah.
movie, but there were a handful as well that I think a couple of them that for sure could be in my top rankings of the entire franchise.
Hmm.
And I think along with that, the CGI, the visual effects. People have complained in the past in this franchise of the CGI blood and guts and things like that, and it is visual effects in this one, but I think it is the best that we've seen in the franchise so far. You see it and you know it's fake. It's just kind of like watching a Marvel movie. It's like you know these spaceships are fake. They're not real, but they still look really good. And I think the blood and guts that was CGI looked really good in this one. And then the humor here, I think, comes with those characters, specifically two standout characters that I loved in this one and their relationship. I think just brought a lot of humor to the movie, and some of the kills kind of have some humor. Kind of the franchise usually tries to put some humor into the ways things shake out and end up taking these characters out. So I thought the humor was probably the strongest in this one of the franchise. I can't remember laughing as much as I did for any of the other movies.
Yeah, and I think it was the right amount.
Yeah,
Wasn't like you're laughing every second or anything. Like,
yeah,
oh, this has just become a comedy show or something like that. But yeah, it's just the perfect amount. I think also was a very good thing.
yeah. I agree. So that's the good. A lot of good there. Very quick movie, fast paced. It doesn't
It
feel like it
did.
drags at all. And then we'll move on to the mixed aspects of the film. So we kind of go good, mixed, and then bad. In the mixed, a lot of great characters, but I think some of the characters are either outshined by other characters or maybe just not given as much as I thought they should have been. Particularly the main character, I think isn't the most interesting. It's probably one of the lesser interesting in the movie where it feels like their relationships with other characters should be the heart of the film, and it kind of is, but it's also kind of the lesser interesting relationships for me personally. So that was eh, middle for me.
Yeah, I could feel that. I could see where you're coming with that. I think, yeah, for me, they were still probably on the stronger end, but there were a couple of them that I maybe would have liked to see a little bit more from. There were a couple that got killed off early on that
Yeah,
I feel like I could have seen more of, but at the same time, yeah, the timing of this film was the pacing and stuff was really good. I thought up until you can see here in the mix, kind of the ending. So I think they probably just had to do that to kind of keep the flow feeling about right. So I get it. You got to kill them off at some point, probably in these kind of films.
yeah,
But there were a couple that I maybe would have liked to see a little bit more from.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but yeah, then getting to that ending and the pacing of the film felt like we got to a point in the movie where it's like, I don't know, maybe 10 to 15 minutes left. It felt like, I don't know, I didn't check my watch or anything because, yeah, this one felt like it flew by. But it had to be about 10 to 15 minutes, I feel like, the last. And it just felt like we went from this great pace to all of a sudden we got to this ending where it's like they told the writers like you've only got 15 minutes left and you gotta do all this stuff in this amount of time, and it just felt like they had a little bit too much that they needed to do, so they were just kind of it felt limited. The ending just felt a little rushed, I thought.
Yeah.
But I also don't know like if you could have done anything different without making it then possibly feel sloggish. I don't like a slog kind of like it
Yeah.
might have nah, without spoiling it. Um, it kind of would have felt like we came to almost a halt, I think, if you wrote it and added some additional time to the end, if that makes sense. Maybe you know how to say it better, Pepper.
Yeah, it did feel a little rushed, and it felt like kind of with where they set it up for this finale to happen, and you think maybe something really interesting is going to go down, but it does just feel like they don't really spend much time on it. It just kind of happens, and it's not like you said. I don't think it was wrong decisions or directions that they went with it. I think they could have included some more things, particularly with the location that it's at. I feel like they could have done more with that. But it felt like it peaked kind of in the kind of third quarter of the movie. I feel like that was the most interesting part, and you're just cleaning up the movie at this point, and uh,
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like Final Destination, I've heard that, I think, what was it? I think Cody Leach was talking. He's like, none of these movies know how to end a movie except maybe one of them. And I'm like, I guess I never thought of that, but that's probably true. And it's probably a weird franchise and kind of concept to actually end it. So I
Yeah,
think they did a decent job.
yeah, I think it is kind of a hard concept to end. Uh, just just the way that it's set up makes it kind of strange.
Yeah.
Um, but they maybe could have done something. I, I wasn't sure if they were going to. There's a character in this one that is in the other films as well, um, that we see kind of sent off. So it'll be the final time, final. That's maybe why we think it's the final destination in a way. Kind of feels like maybe the end, at least of those ones that don't know about that. But um, I was wondering if they were going to do anything with him as the final scene, and I wonder if you could have done something to end it off with
Yeah.
that. I don't know. I don't know if
Yeah.
he could have, or if it would have just kind of been in bad taste. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, so,
I
but,
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that character and what we got from them. I wonder if anyone will be able to piece together who that character is. But yeah, moving on to the bad in the movie. And we got nothing bad to say. It's only mixed
well,
at the lowest.
well. Now that you brought it up, there was one thing I forgot until you just brought it up.
Oh boy.
This location we were talking about.
Oh yeah.
I do not understand quite why the location was set up as is. Maybe
Yes.
you know better and you could tell me after this
Yeah.
why it was set up the way it was. It didn't
Yes.
really make much sense to me, but
Yeah, I don't think
it was
it's
an
too
interesting location,
Yeah,
but I
I don't
don't
think
know
it's
if it made
too.
sense.
I don't think it's too spoilery. It's supposed to be a safe place, but it does not look very safe at all. And I don't
Right.
get it. It doesn't make any sense. And I think that might be a bad in here is maybe the logic. So like that location being the way it is not very logical. Maybe there's
No.
a reason. I don't know. And then maybe a couple decisions by characters throughout the movie and
Yeah. There were just a couple.
their plans maybe weren't that well thought out, where otherwise it felt like they were acting like real people, but just a
Mhm.
couple moments there. Maybe not
Yeah,
too logical, but
I would agree.
but overall, a really solid movie. Another thing I want to shout out is the credits. The style of the credits was really cool and kind of calling back to some imagery from earlier in the movie, just the way it's laid out. It's nothing too fancy, but I did appreciate that they put some effort into adding a little flavor in there. So more movies need to do that. We don't just want black screen with white words.
Yeah, I saw this at a later time, so I don't think I stuck around for the credits, so I might have missed that part. But if they did do that, and do you think it was pretty good? I agree. That would be neat.
Just the style of the words. It wasn't any scene or anything like
Okay. But yeah, so that's our thoughts on this one. Let us know in the comments below if you have seen this, what your thoughts are, and what you think of the franchise as a whole. Which one's your favorite Final Destination film? But otherwise, we hope to see you on the next one. And as always, don't forget to keep on nibbling on that movie theater popcorn.